Cincinnati Bengals and the Kansas City Chiefs. Guys, this thing's been ping-ponging all over the place. As we are recording, you can find a flat one if you want the Kansas City Chiefs. If you want the Bengals, there are 1.5s out there. 47.5 to 48 is your total. Now, we know the saga that has been this line. It opened, it moved immediately. The news of Patrick Mahomes practicing moves the line back the other way. Then the news of Patrick Mahomes practicing in consecutive days and video coming out of him, stretching and hobbling around, or jumping around, all that. Now it moves all the way back to Kansas City, minus 1.5 points in this one. So, Stephen, if we take a look, I want to say that I'm going to handicap this with where we are sitting right now. Now, one of the books here in Nevada, actually one of the rest of country books as well, open this game Cincinnati +3. I took Cincinnati +3 instantly. I took it twice until they told me on the third time I got the middle finger. Listen, I thought a field goal was egregious in the direction for Cincinnati here. And I think the market also said that. And so we moved. Now, I think the market might have overcorrected a little bit, but that was based off of the information we were getting. We were told high ankle sprain, and high ankle sprain equals, hey, you ain't practicing all week long and you're praying that the Toradol that they shove in your leg and whatever lasts the entire game and you're able to play through. Patrick Mahomes is out there practicing on a Wednesday and practicing again on a Thursday. He ain't got no high ankle sprain. That is not how this works. Trust me, I've had multiple orthopedic surgeons tell me that ain't how it works. He has some sort of tweak. He has some sort of whatever. He ain't got no high ankle sprain. So that does change the handicap of this game. Now, could he be slightly limited? Is he certainly in some way, shape, or form injured? I think we would all say yes, but certainly not to the severity of a high ankle sprain, which we all know minimum 2 weeks, most times a month before you're actually fully recovered, and sometimes can require surgery and things like that. So let's go into this thinking that Patrick Mahomes is playing with an ankle tweak.
When this happens, when a quarterback gets injured and all the markets start adjusting, and then the opposite happens, Matt, where we start coming back to what it was initially. The spread is always the first one to move the fastest, right? But for all the bettors out there, you should be looking at every market, because we're at the point in the season now where these books are posting so many props and so many alt lines, etc., that some of these are slow to react to what the latest news is. And if Mahomes is closer to 80, 90% for this game, he's practicing, he's going to play. Andy Reid, as we've been recording, confirmed that he is good to go and will play. Try and find some markets that may not have adjusted back as quickly yet. And to me, as crazy as this sounds, the over-under has not adjusted back quickly enough yet, because the three other meetings between these two teams all had totals in the 50s, 51, 53, 54, including a January playoff game with cold weather. The forecast looks fine. It's going to be cold, but no wind, no precipitation. I bet over 47 in this game. Just based on those closing totals between these two teams, because these are two rosters that have been very similar in each of the three meetings we've had between these two. I don't think the offensive line for Cincinnati is going to be a big issue for them again this week. We'll talk about it against the D-lines they would potentially face if they make it in the Super Bowl. But Kansas City's dead last in run-stop win rate, 15th in pass rush win rate, and Joe Burrow, like we said last week, gets rid of the ball faster than every other quarterback in the NFL, not named Tom Brady. Patrick Mahomes should be fine to throw the ball and move the ball in this game. I think we're going to have a balanced attack. We'll talk about that in a minute when we get to the props. But if Mahomes is fine and everything else is moving, including his passing props back from 270 earlier in the week up to closer to 290 now, there's no reason the total shouldn't have moved back closer to a number that starts with 5 at this point too. So I'm on the over here. Yeah, so I did take just a speculative little snort when this thing, it hit 46.5 here in Nevada at one of the books. And you get under that 47, look, it's not a key number per se, but key-ish, the 47, whatever. 44, 51 when it comes to totals. 47 is that third number that we look for. And so when it got under the 47, I
on principle had to play the over, and that was before this whole Mahomes stuff really started to come out. So, Adam, now that I think we have to just go into this assuming we are getting at least a pretty good version of Patrick Mahomes. Now, are we getting the version where he's as slippery as everything and like creates all these crazy plays and is doing all that? I mean, probably not. There has to be maybe some sort of limitation there, but I'm kind of now viewing this game as we're getting the majority of Patrick Mahomes here. We're getting the 100% of Cincinnati. And with that, that's how we have to handicap this one.
Agreed. If you're going to play the teaser that we talked about with the Philadelphia and San Francisco game, then obviously you got to pair it with something. And I don't care which of these teams you want to take out.
I agree. I might do both, Adam. I got one earlier. I might do the other side.
You're probably going to get the opportunity. If you did that earlier with Kansas City, you're going to have the opportunity here with Cincinnati. I mean, we're not going to see this go back the other direction at this point. It was all about seeing Mahomes with some level of health. So that's obvious. You guys talked about some spread stuff. You guys talked about some total stuff. I think we got to get back into the Mahomes props discussion. You just talked about 290. I'm looking right now at one full country book that's a 284.5 on the Mahomes passing prop, but that's minus 114. How about this? Add 15.5 yards to get him over 300 at plus 132. I'm absolutely going to take that plus 132 because if you believe he's healthy enough to throw for 285 yards, you absolutely believe that he's healthy enough to throw for 300 yards. And if he's healthy enough to throw for 300 yards, give me that better price on Patrick Mahomes. Look at last week. Patrick Mahomes was in the throes of being hurt, missed a 98-yard drive, and still had 22 completions for 195 yards and 2 touchdowns. Now, obviously, the yardage was a little shorter than what you would want, but think about the fact that he missed time. His completions number this week is 24.5. He had 22 while missing a full drive. So anything you want to play in terms of Patrick Mahomes overs, you're getting a better price and likely a better number than you have on them all season long. And I am not going to be the one to be betting against him in this spot. Usually you have to go 2.5 on Patrick Mahomes passing touchdowns, right? And you're going to get plus 125, plus 130 if you go over. Well, 3 touchdowns for most quarterbacks is a lot, not for a guy who's throwing 50 in a season. But this week, all right, so there's some decent sized juice on playing the 1.5. Are you willing to say Patrick Mahomes will not throw for 2 touchdowns in this game against the Cincinnati Bengals, knowing everything you know about Patrick Mahomes, knowing that the Kansas City Chiefs, when in close, like to go with those little flip plays? So even when they're in obvious rushing touchdown situations, it can still turn into a passing touchdown for Mahomes. Right now I'm looking at minus 170, and I'm not going to be someone who often comes out here and says to you, minus 170, go ahead and lay it. But sometimes there's value when the number gets that big if it's something that you feel is an outcome that is highly likely to happen. Tell me what world, other than him going out with it being more hurt, Patrick Mahomes does not throw 2 touchdown passes in this game.
Yeah, and plus they just throw even inside the 5-yard line, right? I mean, that's what, like, they do the little shovel passes and all, like they don't even, I mean, they don't even run the ball whenever they're right up against the goal line and stuff. So I agree with you on everything that you said there. That said, let me give you a prop that's on the other side of that you can find. So DraftKings has these kind of like just weekly special deals and props in there. And Joe Burrow is 2-1 to lead the week in passing yards. Well, if the first game plays out like we believe and is much more run heavy than it is pass heavy, I'm getting 2-1 on a head to head. And if I'm going to get it, and it wouldn't matter what number, if it was the other direction, I would bet Mahomes, right? Like, this is strictly just based off of a number, which is Burrow is plus 200 to lead the week in passing yards. Well, there's a couple of different scenarios in which this gets there, right? I mean, one, they're the most pass heavy team in the NFL as it is anyway, right? I mean, so we know that they could get behind in this game. I mean, they are now underdogs in the game. They are playing on the road also. They could get behind. They have to pass even more than the 67% in which they already passed the ball. We don't expect them to find the same success running the ball that they did last week, which also leads to them passing a ton more. And then again, listen, we don't think it's the case, but there is always the chance of re-injury for Mahomes as well, in which case then I would feel really, really good about having a Burrow 2-1 ticket in there for most passing yards on the week. And so again, it's strictly playing the number. If it was 2-1 on Mahomes, it'd be, if it was plus 200 for Mahomes, I'd take the plus 200 on Mahomes, but it's plus 200 on Burrow. And when I have them separated by like 8 yards in my projections and I'm getting much more money on one of the guys than the other, then that's a bet in the account for me.
And Matt, just to underscore that point, if you wanted to play it as a straight head-to-head, Burrow is minus 102.
Right.
Absolutely, you're playing the plus 200 because Joe Burrow against there are scenarios where Joe Burrow might throw for more than Brock Purdy and Jalen Hurts combined.
Right. Right. So again, you can find that, like, there's a weekly specials tab, and like literally just, I think that is a great bet. I like that one a ton to get into the account as well. And Steven, you guys both said it here.
Yeah.
If I like the 49ers teaser leg, you got to pair it with one. I think this game goes back and forth. I think this is another one of those games, maybe comes down to who has the ball last type situation. So you want to have a teaser on either end of this thing, A-okay with me. I mean, whichever side you're getting over a touchdown on, A-okay with me in this one, because again, I don't see a lot of blowout potential because of what we have on both sides here. We just have two offenses that even if they do find themselves down 11 in the game, are you really thinking that Burrow and all those guys, or Mahomes and Andy Reid and them, can't figure out a way to get this thing back inside a teaser leg? Like, I'm not going to bet against that ever. So I'm fine with either side of it.
Yeah, I'm going to get greedy and try and middle the second leg of the teaser. So we'll see how that goes. Watch the Eagles win by 10 and it won't even matter. But a couple props here. I bet Isaiah Pacheco, the Chiefs running back, anything under 50 here I think is too low. I have over 47.5 on him. I think you still get 48.5. This number still continues to make no sense to me. He's had 50 plus rushing yards in 9 of his past 10 games, 60 plus in 8 of his past 10 games. And I think the matchup, the one thing we haven't touched on here, I'm actually going to disagree with Adam on one particular aspect of the Mahomes handicap. I completely agree with the passing touchdowns. That makes a lot of sense. But I don't think just because the ankle's good that he's going to be able to throw the ball all over the recess yard here against Lou Anarumo in this Bengals defense, because they've had 3 games now against Patrick Mahomes, and Mahomes has not thrown for 280 yards in any one of them. And in fact, 2 of them, he's had below 260 yards. And to me, it's because he is content to play that 2 deep shell, try and take away the explosive pass plays, and Mahomes has been content to just run the ball. Now, I think the ankle is nowhere near as bad as we all thought it was, but I also think that he's going to hand the ball off if there's a light box. We've seen that in all 3 meetings between these 2 teams, where the Chiefs have had more than 5 yards per carry in all 3 of them. So I think the game plan is clear from Lou Anarumo that he's going to try and shorten this game, try and have longer possessions, make Kansas City go the length of the field and take away some chunk plays here for Patrick Mahomes. I bet a bad number here, to be completely transparent. I bet under 270 yards when I thought this ankle was worse than it was. But I don't think just because it's better that I still would be hesitant to take under 285 at this point, given the matchup here.
You really need to brush up on your physical therapy and athletic training situation there, sir. If you evaluated the ankle and decided to play that under, I'll tell you what, I want to look at it a different way when it comes to if you want to use the past matchups for something here. The one thing that has held true in all of the matchups is that Kansas City has raced out to a big lead and Cincinnati has come back from behind, and we've talked plenty on this podcast about the Lou Anarumo halftime adjustments. Right now, you're getting even money to play Kansas City laying a half point in the first half. If you think these matchups are going to go the same as they have been before, then that's a pretty good spot if you don't want to try to deal with playing the spread for the full game.
Yeah, this is just, look, 2 incredibly awesome matchups, fascinating games. And listen, even though it works against my bet in theory, I'm actually glad Mahomes is not as injured as we thought, because I'm just, as a football fan, right, I want to see this game be awesome, right, as opposed to a guy hobbling around out there and being a shell of himself. And and all that. So,
Matt, I want to give one more quick valuable bet if you don't mind. The Super Bowl look aheads here have been priced as if Mahomes has a bad ankle still. If Mahomes wins this game, there's no way that the Chiefs are 1 point either way in the Super Bowl in my mind. I think they're closer to 3 and a favorite no matter who they play. So if you want a little bit of value, you can bet that look ahead. And if the Chiefs lose, you get your money back anyway. I thought those lines were off and we're still showing the Chiefs with some kind of downgrade for Mahomes and his ankle, which won't exist if they win this game this week.
Yeah, right. I mean, your whole thought there is if the ankle is worse off, then they're going to lose anyway, so it doesn't matter. And then if the ankle, and it's like it would have to be far, far better if they're going to win the game as it is. So I think that is super fair angle on that one as well.